Chapter 991. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Dark clouds covered the sky. Heavy rain poured down like water splashing down. Below them was a boundless swamp. Lu Ming was really in a daze. The place where he was standing now was clearly a desert. The sun shone down dazzling light, and the temperature was terrifyingly high. But ahead was a curtain of dark clouds and heavy rain. This difference was too great, making Lu Ming somewhat unable to turn around. Chaos Domain lives up to its reputation. Lu Ming sighed and flew forward. Chi La. Once he flew into the area of heavy rain, the temperature dropped sharply, returning to normal. But in the sky, a lightning bolt as thick as an arm directly struck towards Lu Ming. Revolving the concept of thunder, a lightning bolt as thick as an arm also burst out, scattering this lightning bolt. In the sky, lightning swam. In the next moment, another lightning bolt struck. Lu Ming revolved the concept of thunder to resist it. What a strong concept of thunder! This is a good place to comprehend the concept of thunder. Lu Ming smiled faintly and was not in a hurry to advance. Instead, he descended to the swamp below. Stepping on the water surface, he slowly advanced while comprehending the concept of thunder. A moment later, Lu Ming suddenly opened his eyes. What a thick aura of the concept of water! The aura of the concept of water here is even stronger than the concept of thunder. Lu Ming thought to himself, his eyes revealing a look of hope. He planned to comprehend the concept of water. Now that the War of Providence was over, there was no rush to raise his cultivation in the short term. Lu Ming planned to use this opportunity to comprehend the concept of water. Anyway, he had the 9 dragons bloodline to devour. Comprehending one more concept would not affect his cultivation speed too much. Moreover, comprehending one more concept, if 5 concepts were merged, the eruption power would definitely be even stronger. After making the decision, Lu Ming closed his eyes and started comprehending. With Providence on his body, Lu Ming's comprehension ability increased by a full 10-fold. He was even more in tune with heaven and earth. His comprehension speed was shockingly fast. First was the concept of water. In just 1 day's time, Lu Ming had successfully comprehended the force of water and reached the entry stage of the force of water. Next, I need to merge the water force with the other wills. There is endless thunder and lightning here. I can use the power of thunder and lightning to merge the wills. Lu Ming thought. Whoosh! He leaped into the air and soared into the sky. Chi La! Chi La! In the sky, countless lightning bolts bombarded Lu Ming. Lu Ming had unleashed his force of water and 4 other intents. However, as for the other 4 states, Lu Ming did not explode with great power. He only used them for defense. His main purpose was to let the lightning strike the water state and the other 4 states to temper them. Boom! 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 Thunderous rumbles rang out endlessly as lightning struck continuously. The state and power wavered. Not enough, the power of the lightning is not enough, continue upwards. Lu Ming continued flying upwards. The closer he got to the clouds, the more horrifying the might of the lightning became. It continuously bombarded the state and the power of water. Yes, that's the feeling. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Now, his comprehension ability had increased 10-fold. Even the speed of merging the wills had greatly increased. He could merge the wills faster and more effectively. Lu Ming used the thunder and lightning to temper continuously. In just 10 days, Lu Ming had successfully merged the force of water and the other 4 intents. This speed was already extremely shocking. After the successful fusion, Lu Ming could continue to improve the force of water. Moreover, he had many water profound crystals on him. Coupled with the environment here, his horrifying comprehension ability, and the enlightenment ancient tree, Lu Ming's speed of improvement was simply terrifying. It was like sitting on a rocket. Lu Ming cultivated in this area of water as he advanced. 3 days later, Lu Ming condensed the rune of the force of water in one go and raised the force of water to the 1st level. After that, the speed of improvement kept increasing by leaps and bounds. It was only when the force of water reached the second level that the speed of improvement slowed down. Because at the second level, he couldn't purely rely on the profound crystals. Lu Ming stayed in this swamp for another half a month. His force of water had already reached the second level of greater mastery. At this time, Lu Ming crossed the swamp and arrived at an area with an even more complicated terrain. In this area, he would encounter swamps filled with poisonous gas, terrifying storms, and even areas filled with blood qi. There was once when he was almost cut in half by a blood-red sword light. That blood-red sword light wasn't released by someone, but rushed out from a blood lake. That sword light had at least reached the level of spiritual god. Lu Ming didn't advance quickly. He cultivated as he hurried along. His purpose of walking out of the Talisman Puppet sect was to cultivate. Although the Chaos Domain was a little dangerous, it was still very good for cultivation and could be tempered. During this period, he didn't only cultivate the force of water. He also cultivated and comprehended all the other intents. He had some upper-grade profound crystals on him. They were all obtained from his opponents in the War of Providence, such as Luo Tian, Wang Fenshen, and the others. The use of upper-grade profound crystals was much greater than middle-grade spirit stones. Generally speaking, lower-grade profound crystals corresponded to King Realm and were of great help to cultivating a first-level intent. Middle-grade profound crystals corresponded to the spiritual Sea Realm and were of great help to the second-level intent. Upper-grade profound crystals corresponded to the spiritual Embryo Realm and were of great help to the third-level intent. As for top-grade profound crystals, they corresponded to the fourth-level intent. Of course, the difficulty of cultivating a third-level intent was extremely high. It wasn't enough to rely on upper-grade profound crystals alone. However, with the help of upper-grade profound crystals, the cultivation speed was still much faster. Just like this, Lu Ming cultivated as he hurried along. He didn't neglect the intent of heaven and earth and his martial skills. The Dandan's perception was very strong. Sometimes, when they encountered powerful existences, they would avoid them. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, it had been 3 months since Lu Ming entered the Chaos Domain. Along the way, Lu Ming experienced a lot and encountered all kinds of terrains. Even with the Dandan's perception, he still encountered danger more than 10 times. The most dangerous time was when the sky suddenly split open while flying and endless flames poured down. If it wasn't for Lu Ming's sharp perception and quick reaction, he would have been in danger. That was because the flames were extremely terrifying. When they poured down from the sky, they turned everything within 100,000 miles into lava. Lu Ming was drenched in cold sweat. Of course, along the way, Lu Ming's harvest was also great. Wind, fire, and thunder, the 3 intents had all reached the peak of the 3rd level and were beginning to break through to the 4th level. The intent of earth had also reached the peak of the 3rd level. As for the intent of water, it had also broken through the 3rd level and reached the beginning of the 3rd level. For the intent of water to reach this step so quickly was already very terrifying. This was because Lu Ming comprehended it purely by himself and not by devouring the 9 dragons' bloodline. However, his cultivation didn't increase and was still at the early stage of the 8th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. His cultivation needed to wait for the intent of water to catch up with the other intents before it could continue to increase. Chapter 992. Besides the 9 dragons' heaven trampling steps, Lu Ming cultivated another martial technique. Dazzling Dragon Spear Art. This was a high-grade demigod rank martial technique that Lu Ming had obtained in the Battle of Karmic Luck. During this period of time, Lu Ming was almost on the verge of cultivating it to the highest level. This was the benefit of improving his comprehension ability. Coupled with the fact that he was wholeheartedly cultivating the martial Tao and wasn't distracted by the Tao of inscription, his progress in all aspects was extremely swift. Roar! Roar! A mountain range appeared ahead. Numerous peaks stood tall on the mountain range, ancient trees towered into the sky, and the roars of beasts resounded incessantly. He finally encountered a mountain range that was filled with vitality. This place should be close to the central continent. According to the records of the past, I just have to pass through this mountain range to arrive at the central continent. Lu Ming revealed a trace of anticipation in his eyes, but he didn't relax in his heart. Because it was said that formidable ferocious beasts lived in the mountain range near the central continent, and some were even capable of tearing domain enlightened spirit gods apart. So, Lu Ming didn't dare let his guard down. Lu Ming restrained his aura and charged into the mountain range. Not long after he charged into the mountain range, Lu Ming encountered the attack of a formidable ferocious beast. Lu Ming killed it and devoured all its demon energy and blood essence. The blood essence was used to improve his bloodline, and the demon energy was used to temper his body. 10 days later, a painting floated within a hidden crack in a rock. It was the mountain river painting, and Lu Ming was cultivating within it. Om! The hell-suppressing steel floated above him, and it flickered with light and shook slightly. 4 golden chakras flickered, but it wasn't long before another golden chakra effused out. The 5th golden chakra, the hell-suppressing steel's bloodline, had attained the 5th level of the god rank. During this period of time, practically all the blood essence that Lu Ming had devoured had been used to improve the hell-suppressing steel's bloodline. Let's see how formidable the hell-suppressing heaven art is now. With a command in his heart, Lu Ming stood up and slapped out with his palm. Hiss! Space warped rapidly while a mountain in the distance rumbled and collapsed. The improvement doesn't seem to be that terrifying. According to this extent of improvement, if I execute it at full strength, its might should be equivalent to a mid-grade low-grade god rank martial technique. Lu Ming's heart stirred. When the prison-suppressing steel bloodline had been at the 4th level of the divine grade, the power of the prison-suppressing heaven skill had been equivalent to the 1st level of a low-tier divine grade martial skill. Lu Ming had originally thought that after the prison-suppressing steel bloodline had been upgraded to the 5th level of the divine grade, the power of the prison-suppressing heaven skill would be equivalent to the 6th level of a low-tier divine grade martial skill. However, from the looks of it now, it seemed like it had yet to reach the 4th level. Most likely, it would only reach the 6th level of a low-tier god-tier battle technique when he reached the 6th level of a god-tier battle technique. A 7th level divine grade martial skill could reach the level of a high-grade divine grade martial skill. A high-grade divine level martial skill was a martial skill that only sovereigns could successfully cultivate. For some reason, my 3rd bloodline still can't be awakened. At this moment, Lu Ming frowned again. Even now, his 3rd bloodline still hadn't awakened. It was as if it was still in the process of being nurtured, which left Lu Ming speechless. The other prodigies had already awakened their 3rd bloodline. Most prodigies would awaken their 3rd bloodline at the Spirit Sea realm. Only a small number of them would awaken their 3rd bloodline at the Spirit Embryo realm. And now, Lu Ming's cultivation had already reached the 8th level of the Spirit Embryo realm, but his 3rd bloodline still hadn't awakened. This made Lu Ming a little depressed. Could it be that he could only awaken his 3rd bloodline at the Spirit God realm? In history, there were very few people who could awaken their 3rd bloodline at the Spirit God realm. Sigh, forget it. It's useless to think so much. Let nature take its course. I have the 9 dragons bloodline. Even if I can't awaken my 3rd bloodline, I won't be inferior to others. Lu Ming thought to himself. Then, he exited the mountain river diagram and continued to advance in the mountain range. Central continent, the easternmost land. It was the chaotic region near the eastern wilderness. On the edge of a majestic and boundless mountain range, there were 2 young women carefully running through the forest. These 2 women were about 20 years old. They looked almost identical, and one could tell at a glance that they were twin sisters. Their skin was like jade, and they were peerlessly beautiful. They were both rare and alluring beauties. But at this moment, their expressions were very solemn. They restrained their auras and moved forward carefully. Ah hui, be careful. Don't run too fast. One of the women said softly. Ah lei, don't worry. This is only the outskirts of the chaotic mountain range. There won't be any ferocious beasts that are too strong. The other woman seemed to be more lively. She smiled lightly and spoke softly. We've already been here for a few days, but we haven't seen the rainbow venomous snake. We don't know where it is. The woman called Ah Lei sighed softly. Ah Lei, do you think we can't find the rainbow venomous snake because we're in the outskirts of the mountain range? If we can't find the rainbow venomous snake, then we can't find the spirit medicine that accompanies the rainbow venomous snake to cure Grandpa's poison. Ah Lei, should we go deeper into the mountain range? Ah Hui said. Yes, that's the only way. But Ah Hui, don't be rash. Let's slow down a little. Ah Lei said. Then, the two young women carefully walked towards the depths of the mountain range. During this time, they carefully avoided a few powerful ferocious beasts. Roar! Suddenly, in the depths of the mountain range, there was an earth-shattering roar of a beast. The beast's roar sounded like a thunderclap. A vast demonic power soared into the sky. A terrifying space crack appeared in the sky. The clouds were directly swallowed by the space crack and disappeared without a trace. Roar! Then, the roar sounded again. It seemed to be filled with endless anger. The whole mountain range shook and rumbled loudly. Even though they were very far away, the two young women's faces changed drastically. They suddenly turned snow-white without a trace of blood. This is a level 8 ferocious beast. A level 8 ferocious beast is furious. Ah Lei, let's go quickly. Ah Hui's voice trembled. She didn't have the courage before. She pulled Ah Lei and ran wildly. Roar! Roar! At this time, in the mountain range, a group of ferocious beasts roared. They seemed to be very frightened. The two young women were even more shocked. They knew that the king of the mountain range was furious. The ferocious beasts were frightened. They were afraid that many powerful ferocious beasts would flee in all directions. It was very dangerous. The two young women ran out of the mountain range with all their strength. Rumble! There were ferocious beasts fleeing in all directions. Fortunately, these ferocious beasts seemed to be scared out of their wits and ignored the two young women. Therefore, the two young women were not in danger. Roar! Roar! The earth-shattering roar came from the depths of the mountain forest. It was earth-shattering, and its aura was terrifying. The two young women ran for an hour before they ran out of the mountain range and came to the outside. At this time, the two young women breathed a long sigh of relief. They were safe for the time being. Ah Lei, what's going on? Why did a level 8 ferocious beast suddenly become furious? Seeing that they were out of danger, Hui's mind was active again. Her big eyes were full of curiosity. I don't know. Ah Hui, it seems that we can't find the 7-colored poisonous snake. What about Grandpa's poison? Ah Lei sighed. The two young women's eyes dimmed again. Their cultivation was too low. They didn't dare to go too deep into the mountain range. There's someone ahead. Chapter 993. In the mountain forest ahead, a black-robed young man charged out with extreme speed. His entire body was tattered and bleeding. There was a little tortoise on the shoulder of the black-robed young man. The little tortoise's claws were firmly grasping the young man's shoulder while its eyes were rolled back, and its body was twitching. Bang! The black-robed young man's speed was extremely swift as he charged out of the mountain forest, and then he fell heavily on the ground, causing dust to fill the sky. After that, he just lay there like that. Dandan, you almost got me killed this time. The young man lying on the ground spoke weakly. This young man was naturally Lu Ming, who traversed the chaos territory all along the way. At this moment, another 7 days had passed since Lu Ming's health-suppressing steel bloodline had advanced. Right when they were about to pass through the mountain range and enter the territory of the central continent, they encountered a formidable ferocious beast. It was a second-level grade 8 ferocious beast that was equivalent to the second level of the spirit god realm. Originally, they could have gone around this ferocious beast, but it just so happened that Dandan noticed this ferocious beast was guarding 2 Saint Spirit Ginsengs. These 2 Saint Spirit Ginsengs were top-grade grade 8 spirit herbs, and even a peak spirit god would be tempted upon seeing them. So Dandan was tempted, and he secretly dug out the 2 saint spirit ginsengs. Unexpectedly, he was discovered by that formidable ferocious beast, and that ferocious beast went mad and madly chased after Dandan. In the end, even Lu Ming was implicated. Lu Ming used all his ability to luckily escape the ferocious beast's claws. However, he suffered extremely heavy injuries. Many of his bones were broken, and his internal organs were injured. Moreover, he didn't have much true essence left, and his aura was extremely weak. Dandan wasn't any better. He was almost blasted apart by the ferocious beast a few times, and at this moment, his entire body was twitching incessantly. A spirit god realm existence was truly formidable, and Lu Ming wasn't a match for it at all. Take human martial artists for example. Those that could step into the spirit god realm were at least god-rank geniuses, and most of them were god-rank geniuses that had awakened bloodlines at the 2nd level of the god rank or even at the 3rd level of the god rank. Such geniuses wouldn't have any problem surmounting 2 or 3 realms to fight enemies at the spirit embryo realm. It was the same for ferocious beasts and demonic beasts. They were all existences with a few % of the divine beast bloodline in their bodies. They were incomparably powerful. Coupled with the fact that there was an enormous chasm between the spirit embryo realm and the spirit god realm, Lu Ming's current cultivation was only at the 8th level of the spirit embryo realm, so it was utterly impossible for him to surmount such a huge gap. During the Battle of Karmic Luck all those years ago, the reason Di Shen and the others had been able to stop the peak existences of the 3-eyed divine race was because the experts of the 3-eyed divine race hadn't completely stepped into the domain enlightened spirit god realm, and they could only be considered to have taken half a step into the domain enlightened spirit god realm. So, Di Shen and the others were able to fight them. Because once a member of the 3-eyed divine race completely stepped into the domain enlightened spirit god realm in that world, then they would be suppressed by the laws of that world. If he was a complete spiritual god expert, the arch-god and the others would definitely not be able to stop him. Not to mention that the ferocious beast that Lu Ming faced earlier was equivalent to a 2nd-level spirit god, and it was even more formidable. It was already extremely rare for Lu Ming to be able to escape with his life. Lu Ming, don't blame me. There are 2 saint spirit ginsengs, so let's take 1 each. Dandan's body twitched as he spoke. Lu Ming couldn't be bothered to speak any further with Eggie, and he just lay there and closed his eyes to circulate and recuperate. 2 young women were watching curiously from not too far away. Ah, Lei, there's still a voice. He seems to be still alive. Let's go over and take a look. Let's see if we can help him, said Ah Hui. Yes, Ah Hui, be careful. Comparatively speaking, Ah Lei seemed to be slightly more timid and shy. The 2 young women carefully approached Lu Ming, and a trace of pity flashed in their eyes when they saw Lu Ming's eyes were closed and his entire body was covered in blood. After sensing carefully, Ah Hui said, he seems to be heavily injured, but he's still breathing. He seems to have fainted. Why don't we carry him back to the city? Otherwise, he'll definitely be eaten by ferocious beasts if he stays here by himself. All right. Ah Lei nodded. The 2 young women were very kind-hearted, and they walked towards Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly opened his eyes. The 2 young women screamed in fright and hurriedly retreated, their faces pale. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. These 2 young women were really timid. However, they were so timid that they dared to come to this dangerous mountain range. Lu Ming was a little surprised. Don't be afraid. I mean no harm. Lu Ming forced himself to get up and smiled. Lu Ming scanned them with his mind and found that the cultivation of the 2 young women was at the complete spiritual sea realm. With this cultivation, they could be considered as geniuses in the eastern wilderness. Ah Lei, don't be afraid. His cultivation should be lower than ours, said Ah Hui in a low voice. At this moment, Lu Ming's breath was extremely weak, and he gave people the feeling that his cultivation was indeed low, even lower than the 2 young women. Lu Ming naturally heard what she said, but he didn't defend himself. Were you injured by the demonic beasts in the mountain range? With your cultivation, how dare you go deeper than us? Don't you know it's very dangerous? Said Ah Hui, blinking her eyes. I had no choice but to go deeper into the mountain range. Lu Ming casually gave a reason. Oh, it seems that you also had something important to do in the mountain range. Well, do you know why the level 8 ferocious beast went crazy? Asked Ah Hui curiously. Of course, she didn't know that the level 8 ferocious beast was angry because of Lu Ming. She thought that Lu Ming was injured by some weaker ferocious beast. I don't know either. Lu Ming shook his head. Well, forget it. I see that you're badly injured. Where are you from? Do you need us to send you back? Asked Ah Hui. After chatting for a while, the two young women felt that Lu Ming was not a bad person. They became bolder and approached Lu Ming to chat with Lu Ming. My home is very far from here. I'm afraid I can't go back for the time being. Lu Ming said with a smile. Oh, in that case, why don't you go to Lishui City with us first? Lishui City is the closest to here. It's still not safe here. I don't know if the ferocious beast will go crazy again. Said Ah Hui. Okay. Thank you very much. Lu Ming pondered for a while and nodded in agreement. Lu Ming had just arrived in the central continent and was unfamiliar with the place. He really needed to find a place to stay temporarily and understand the situation in the central continent before he made his next plan. Moreover, he could also find a place to treat his injuries. It was killing two birds with one stone. What's your name? Asked Ah Hui. I'm Lu Shaoqing. May I know your names? Lu Ming said casually. In the central continent, there were probably spies of the Emperor Deity Palace. Lu Ming did not intend to use his real name. I'm Xiao Hui. You can call me Ah Hui. This is my sister Xiao Lei. You can call her Ah Lei. Said Ah Hui. Lu Ming found that Ah Hui was lively and cheerful. She was more talkative, while Ah Lei was much more shy. She did not talk much and just looked at Lu Ming curiously. Hearing Ah Hui's words, Ah Lei whispered, I'm the elder sister. Ah Hui glared at her and said, Ah Lei, you're talking nonsense. I'm the elder sister. I've been taking care of you all this time. Ah Lei retorted in a low voice, but Grandpa said I was born a moment earlier than you. Grandpa is talking nonsense. Humph, I don't care. I'm the elder sister. Lu Shaoqing, just remember that I'm the elder sister. Ah Hui pursed her lips. Chapter 994. Miss Ah Hui, Miss Ah Lei, wait for me for a while. I'll go to Lishui City with you after my injuries have stabilized. Lu Ming said. Well, you heal yourself. We'll keep a lookout for you. Ah Hui said. Then she and Ah Lei walked to the side to keep a lookout for Lu Ming. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. He then closed his eyes to recuperate. After this period of cultivation, Lu Ming's body had reached the peak of level 8. His recovery ability was extremely amazing. Combined with the true dragon fighting skill, he began to heal quickly. After half an hour, Lu Ming's injuries had stabilized and his genuine ether had recovered by 20%. Of course, with Ah Hui and Ah Lei's cultivation, they naturally could not see Lu Ming's cultivation realm. Miss Ah Hui, Miss Ah Lei, I'm almost done. We can set off. Lu Ming said. So soon? Ah Hui said with some surprise. My injuries are not too serious. I'll heal myself properly when we reach Lishui City. Lu Ming said. Oh, that's good. Is your little tortoise okay? Ah Hui looked at Dandan on Lu Ming's shoulder. At this time, Dandan was still twitching. It's okay. It'll be fine after twitching for a while. Lu Ming said casually. This made Dandan gnash its teeth. What did he mean by, it'll be fine after twitching for a while? Then, the three of them rose into the air and left for Lishui City. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, What appeared in front of them were rivers and lakes dotted on the ground. Looking from the sky, they looked like pearls. This was a water town. The three of them chatted as they hurried along. Lu Ming had a rough idea of where this place was. The most powerful force in this water town was Floating Mountain. Floating Mountain was an overlord force in Zhongzhou State. In fact, Lu Ming had a rough understanding of Zhongzhou State before he came to Zhongzhou State. The middle continent was vast and boundless. It was at least 7 or 8 times larger than the eastern wilderness. Furthermore, it was a blessed land with countless grotto heavens and blessed lands. The heaven and earth spiritual qi was rich, and cultivation flourished there. Throughout history, there were countless geniuses and experts. It was the center of the divine wilderness continent. In the middle continent, the eastern wilderness could not compare to the number and quality of geniuses. The central continent ancient Saint dynasty was undoubtedly the oldest and largest force in the central continent. In fact, central continent was completely under the rule of the ancient sage dynasty tens of thousands of years ago. The ancient sage dynasty had been around for a long time. Legend had it that it had been around for 1,000,000 years. For the past 1,000,000 years, the central continent had been under the rule of the ancient sage dynasty. The central continent had been prosperous and powerful. There were many geniuses and experts, far above the eastern wilderness. By then, not only the middle continent, but even the eastern wilderness, Nanming, and other territories would have to submit to the ancient Saint dynasty. However, all of this changed drastically tens of thousands of years ago. Tens of thousands of years ago, an invincible figure had appeared in the Xia clan of the ancient Saint dynasty. He had started a rebellion, and the ancient Saint dynasty had experienced an unprecedented civil war. That war was earth-shattering. Countless experts had died, and even many sovereigns had fallen. After that war, the strength of the ancient Saint dynasty's royal family declined rapidly. They could no longer control the vast territory of the central continent. After that, the central continent entered the era of the sovereigns. For tens of thousands of years, various overlords had ruled over a region and fought for supremacy. Outside of these overlords, there were countless smaller forces that relied on the overlords and fought endlessly. Now, the central continent was even more chaotic than the eastern wilderness. The Floating Mountain sect occupied a vast territory in the eastern part of the central continent. They were the overlords of a region, and they had sovereigns. They were extremely powerful and were not weaker than forces like the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace and the Heavenly Corpse sect. Lishui City was a city under the jurisdiction of the Floating Mountain sect. The Shao clan, where Ah Hui and Ah Lei were from, was a small clan in Lishui City. The Shao sisters were very innocent and did not have any ulterior motives. They felt that Lu Ming was a good person, so they treated Lu Ming as a friend. Whatever Lu Ming asked, they would answer. During the conversation, Lu Ming learned that their mother had passed away after they were born. A few years ago, their father had also fallen while adventuring outside. Now, they had been following their grandfather, Xiao Zhan, the patriarch of the Shao clan. However, some time ago, Xiao Zhan entered the Chaos Mountain range in search of a kind of spiritual medicine. He did not expect to be bitten by a 7-colored poisonous snake and was still unconscious. The reason why the two sisters came to the Chaos Mountain range was to find the 7-colored poisonous snake's nest and the accompanying spiritual medicine of the 7-colored poisonous snake to save Xiao Zhan. Unfortunately, after searching for many days, they did not even find a trace of the 7-colored poisonous snake. Later, they met Lu Ming. "Maybe I can save your grandfather's poison," Lu Ming said. This made the Shao sisters pause. Their eyes widened as they said, You can really save him." The alchemist said that the poison had already spread throughout my grandfather's body. Unless there's the accompanying spiritual medicine of the 7-colored poisonous snake, it would be hard to save him. As they said this, the eyes of the two sisters started to turn red again. "I have cultivated a kind of secret technique before. I have some experience in detoxification," Lu Ming said. The 9 Dragons bloodline could swallow all kinds of poison. If someone was poisoned, it could also swallow the poison out. "Really?" You can't side with us. Ah, Huey's eyes were filled with hope. The two sisters looked at Lu Ming without blinking. N. Lu Ming nodded his head solemnly. That's great. The two sisters beamed with joy. 2 days later, Lishui City appeared in front of their eyes. Lishui City was very grand. Even though it couldn't be compared to Nine Dragon City, which was a colossus, it was still extremely vast. On the streets, people walked to and fro. All of them were in high spirits. There were a lot of experts. Just by strolling through one street, Lu Ming had already discovered quite a number of strong practitioners of spirit embryo realm. On both sides of the street, there were many shops. Lu Ming looked around curiously. The customs of the central continent were very different from the East Desolation. It was filled with exotic customs. After passing through a few streets, a huge mansion appeared in front of them. He had arrived at the Shao family. The two sisters were the precious granddaughters of the Shao family's patriarch. Naturally, they didn't stop him. Lu Ming followed the two sisters and entered the Shao family. However, when they walked past a courtyard, they were stopped by a young man. The young man was about 25 or 26 years old. He wore a sapphire green long robe with a jade belt around his waist and golden boots on his feet. Xiao Ning. Seeing this young man, the two sisters frowned slightly. Ah Hui, Ah Lei, where have you been these few days? The young man asked. Where we go is none of your business. Ah Hui curled her lips and said. None of my business? Don't you know that the two of you are now related to the future of the Shao family? If anything happens to you, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Xiao Ning's gaze turned cold as he said. What future of the Shao family? It's your future. Ah Hui mocked. I can't be bothered to talk to you. Xiao Ning opened the fan in his hand and gently waved it. He then turned his gaze towards Lu Ming and frowned. Who is this person? Ah Hui, don't bring any Tom, Dick or Harry into the family. If others know, they will laugh at you. This is my and Ah Lei's friend. He is here to treat his injuries. You can't do anything about it. Also, Big Brother Lu can cure grandfather's poison. When the time comes, he will be an important guest of the Shao family. Chapter 995. Lu Ming stood at the side and watched quietly without making a sound. Ah Lei explained to him in a low voice that this person was their second uncle's son and their cousin. Their relationship with the two of them was not good. He can cure grandfather's poison. Nonsense. Many alchemists couldn't cure him. How can this kid cure him? Don't be fooled by this kid. Xiao Ning raised his eyebrows and said loudly. Brother Lu is our friend. Why would he lie to us? If we don't let Brother Lu try, how would we know that Brother Lu can't do it? Alright, get out of the way. With that, Ah Hui pulled Lu Ming, bypassed Xiao Ning, and walked inside. Xiao Ning's face was gloomy. Ah Hui brought Lu Ming around a few courtyards and finally came to a guest room. She said, Brother Lu, you can stay here and heal your injuries. When you're better, it won't be too late to cure grandfather's poison. Alright. Lu Ming nodded. After chatting for a while, the two sisters bid farewell and left. Lu Ming walked into the room and closed the door. He sat cross-legged on the bed and began to heal his injuries. The battle dragon true essence circulated throughout his body and seeped into the depths of his body. Lu Ming's injuries were quickly recovering. In fact, during the 2 days on the road, Lu Ming's body was automatically recovering. Up until now, he had recovered a lot. Bang! 10 minutes later, while Lu Ming was healing his injuries, the door was pushed open. A youth stood at the door with a cold face. Lu Ming's body trembled slightly. He opened his eyes and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Xiao Ning, the one who pushed open the door was Xiao Ning. Fortunately, Lu Ming's control was strong enough. He also paid attention and didn't put all his heart into it. Otherwise, If he was suddenly disturbed during his cultivation, he would be injured at best. At worst, he would go berserk. What do you want? Lu Ming asked. Kid, what is your purpose in coming to the Shao family? Could it be that you want to deceive Ah Hui and Ah Lei because they are innocent? Let me tell you, if you have this idea, you are wrong. Desolate Ning said coldly. Brother Shao, you've misunderstood me. I'm friends with Ah Hui and Ah Lei, and I'm injured, so I want to use the Shao family to heal. I happen to know some detoxification methods. I heard that the old master of the Shao family was poisoned by the colorful snake, so I want to see if I can help detoxify him. Lu Ming cupped his fists and explained with a smile. Shut up. Who do you think you are? Do you think you're worthy of being my brother? Don't think that I don't know that you want to get close to those two girls because they are beautiful and pure. No way. You'd better leave the Shao family quickly or else. Desolate Ning sneered. Shao Ning, what are you doing? Following that, two beautiful figures appeared. They were Ah Hui and Ah Lei. Shao Ning, Big Brother Lu is our friend. If you let him go again, I'll get angry. Ah Hui gritted her teeth and said as the two sisters walked over. Humph. Seeing the sisters coming over, Shao Ning knew that he had missed the opportunity. He snorted coldly, waved his sleeves, and strode away. I heard that Shao Ning was coming here. I knew that something bad was going to happen. Fortunately, we arrived in time. Big Brother Lu, are you all right? Ah Hui asked with concern. I'm fine. Lu Ming smiled. Well, I'll have someone keep an eye on Shao Ning for the next few days. If he comes again, I'll definitely get angry with him. Have a good rest. After that, the two sisters said goodbye to Lu Ming. Lu Ming went back to his room and continued to cultivate and heal his injuries. After that, no one disturbed Lu Ming. 3 days later, Lu Ming's injuries were completely healed. As for Dandan, he was thrown into the mountain river diagram and let him recover on his own. Dandan's vitality was extremely tenacious, so nothing bad would happen to him. After Lu Ming recovered, he found Ah Hui and Ah Lei and went to their grandfather's room. Old Master Shao lived in the Shao family's main residence. When the three of them arrived at the main residence, they were stopped. One of them was Shao Ning, and the other was a middle-aged man in his 50s with a cold expression. Second uncle. Ah Hui's expression changed slightly. That man was Ah Hui's second uncle, Shao Hongyun. Old Master Shao had two sons. One was Ah Hui and Ah Lei's father, and the other was Shao Hongyun. Ah Hui, Ah Lei, that's where father is recuperating. Why did you bring a stranger here? Shao Hongyun said with a straight face. Ah Lei trembled slightly and took a step back. Apparently, she was a little afraid of Shao Hongyun. Ah Hui was much bolder. She took a step forward and said, Second uncle, this is our friend, Lu Shaoqing. Big Brother Lu can cure Grandpa's poison, so we brought him here to help Grandpa cure the poison. Nonsense. Shao Hongyun waved his sleeves and snapped, how many alchemists and herbalists have we hired? We've tried all kinds of methods, but none of them could cure your grandfather's poison. How could this kid cure your grandfather? You two little girls don't know how dangerous the world is. Be careful not to be deceived. Second uncle, you think too much. Brother Lu won't deceive us. Why don't we let him try? We won't lose anything. Ah Hui argued strongly. Shao Hongyun's face darkened slightly. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Kid, are you an inscriber? No. Lu Ming said indifferently. He had thought that since he had just arrived, he should be polite to them. Moreover, he did not argue with the Shao family for the sake of Ah Hui and Ah Lei. However, Shao Hongyun and his son had repeatedly made things difficult for him and spoke unkindly. Lu Ming could not help but feel a little angry and his tone was not pleasant. Since you're not an inscriber, how dare you say that you can cure my father? What a joke. Hurry up and leave the Shao family. I won't pursue this matter. Xiao Hongyun laughed contemptuously and waved his hand. Who said that only an inscriber can cure a poison? I have a secret technique that can easily cure the poison. Lu Ming said. Nonsense. Shameless boasting. Xiao Ning interrupted sarcastically. We believe in Brother Lu. Moreover, second uncle also said that so many alchemists have been invited during this period, but none of them could cure Grandpa's poison. Are we just going to leave him alone and let him die? At this moment, we have to seize any chance. I must let Brother Lu try. If you're worried, you can watch from the side. Ah Hui said with a firm gaze. Ah Lei also stepped forward and stared at Xiao Hongyun boldly. Xiao Hongyun frowned and pondered for a moment before saying, okay, let him try. We'll watch from the side. However, just now, an alchemist came and fed Father an antidote pill. We'll observe the situation for today. If Father doesn't get better by tomorrow, let this kid try. Okay, tomorrow it is. Ah Hui was overjoyed. Also, don't run around these few days. After a few days, pack your things and follow me to the floating mountain to see young Master Ling Yunkong. Xiao Hongyun's tone changed. Hearing this, Ah Hui and Ah Hui's expressions changed drastically. No, I won't go to the floating mountain to see Ling Yunkong even if I die. Ah Hui shouted. Nonsense. Who is young Master Ling Yunkong? He's a peerless genius of the floating mountain. He's one of the top 10 young geniuses of the floating mountain. His talent is peerless and rare. It's your fortune that he took a fancy to you. Don't you know how to cherish it? Let me tell you, this is related to the future of the Xiao family. You can't throw a tantrum. You have to go even if you don't want to. After 7 days, follow me. After saying this, Xiao Hongyun waved his sleeves and strode away. Chapter 996. Ah Hui and Ah Lei's eyes were red, and tears were rolling in their eyes. Ah Hui, Ah Lei, what's going on? Lu Ming asked. It's all because of Xiao Ning. He wants to give us to Ling Yunkong for his own future. Ah Hui wiped her tears and explained to Lu Ming. Xiao Ning was also a disciple of the Floating Mountain sect. However, the Floating Mountain sect was a colossus with many geniuses. Xiao Ning's talent was average, and he was just an ordinary disciple in the Floating Mountain sect. He was not valued at all. However, he was good at flattering people. He used some unknown method to get acquainted with Ling Yunkong, one of the top 10 geniuses of the Floating Mountain sect. He ran errands for Ling Yunkong. Once, Xiao Ning brought Ling Yunkong to the Xiao clan as a guest. The Xiao clan was naturally shocked and held a big banquet to welcome Ling Yunkong. At the banquet, Ling Yunkong took a fancy to Ah Hui and Ah Lei. Xiao Ning naturally introduced them to such a good thing. Ling Yunkong was a peerless genius of the Floating Mountain sect. Even in the Battle of Providence in the Central Continent, he had achieved good results. Which girl didn't like geniuses and worshipped peerless geniuses? Ah Hui and Ah Lei were naturally the same. They naturally agreed to get acquainted with Ling Yunkong. However, later they found out that Ling Yunkong wanted to marry both of them. Yes, both of them. This made Ah Hui and Ah Lei greatly disappointed in Ling Yunkong. Later, they learned that Ling Yunkong was licentious and lecherous. He had already married 7 or 8 concubines. In this way, the two sisters naturally disagreed. However, Xiao Ning finally managed to climb up the big tree that was Ling Yunkong. How could he miss such a rare opportunity? As long as Ling Yunkong married the two sisters, he would definitely be heavily rewarded. Then, Xiao Ning would be able to rise up in the Floating Mountain sect. Therefore, Xiao Ning and Xiao Hongyun had been trying to find a way to marry the two sisters to Ling Yunkong. However, Xiao Zhan, the old master of the Xiao clan, strongly opposed this matter. This matter had been delayed. Now that Xiao Zhan was poisoned and unconscious, how could Xiao Ning and Xiao Hongyun miss this opportunity? Naturally, they began to urge the two sisters to marry Ling Yunkong. Lu Ming nodded, suddenly understanding. No wonder the relationship between the two sisters and Desolate Ning was so bad. So this was the reason why. The three of them chatted for a while before returning to their rooms. Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning walked around several courtyards, chatting with each other. "Father, why did you agree to let that brat detoxify Grandpa? If that brat really detoxifies Grandpa's poison, with his bad temper, he will definitely oppose us giving Ah Hui and Ah Lei to Ling Yunkong." Xiao Ning said anxiously. "Why are you in such a hurry? The seven-colored poisonous snake is extremely rare and its venom is very special. Now, the venom has spread throughout the old man's body and seeped into the depths of his muscles, bones, and blood. We've invited so many alchemists and pharmacists, but they were all helpless. How can that brat cure the poison? In my opinion, that brat has taken a fancy to Ah Hui and wants to show off in front of them. When he fails to cure the poison tomorrow, we'll find a reason to kick him out of the Xiao clan." Xiao Hongyun said. "Father is right." Desolate Ning smiled happily. A day passed quickly. On the second day, old Master Zhao's poison showed no signs of subsiding. On the afternoon of the second day, Lu Ming, Ah Hui and Ah Lei, Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning walked towards old Master Zhao's room. Opening the door, Lu Ming saw an old man lying on the bed. The old man looked to be in his 60s. He was tall and sturdy, but his breath was weak. His body was covered with colorful lights. The 7 colors covered his entire body. It was very strange. This was the 7-colored poisonous snake's poison. "Grandpa." Ah Hui and Ah Lei saw Xiao Zhan's appearance and their hearts ached. Their eyes reddened and tears flowed down uncontrollably. The 7-colored poisonous snake's poison has spread to every part of his body, even to the depths of his muscles, bones, and blood. Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. The old man was deeply poisoned. If not for his profound cultivation, he would have died long ago. Even so, he wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Lu Ming predicted that the old man would die in a month at most. "Brother Lu, are you sure you can save my grandpa?" Ah Hui said with a sobbing tone. "I'll try my best," Lu Ming said and walked over to Xiao Zhan. Lu Ming waved his hand. True essence spread out and lifted Xiao Zhan's body. Xiao Zhan sat up on the bed. Lu Ming sat cross-legged behind Xiao Zhan. His palm pressed against Xiao Zhan's back, and his devouring power erupted. The devouring power wrapped around Xiao Zhan's body, seeping into every inch of his skin, bones, and flesh. Ah Hui and Ah Lei, as well as Xiao Hongyun and his son, 4 pairs of eyes were fixed on Lu Ming. However, the 4 of them were worried about different things. Ah Hui and Ah Lei were worried that Lu Ming wouldn't be able to cure Xiao Zhan's poison. Xiao Hongyun and his son were worried that Lu Ming would be able to cure Xiao Zhan's poison. The poison is retreating." Suddenly, Ah Hui's eyes lit up, and her voice trembled. First, they saw the multicolored spots on Xiao Zhan's face slowly fade, as if something was sucking them out of his body. How is this possible? Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning's faces changed drastically, revealing a look of disbelief. Could Lu Ming really be able to cure Xiao Zhan's poison? Their eyes flashed with various kinds of light, and they looked a little cold. As for Ah Hui and Ah Lei, they were overjoyed. They held their hands tightly, looking hopefully at Lu Ming and Xiao Zhan. As time passed, the multicolored spots on Xiao Zhan's face faded, and his aura grew stronger. Half an hour later, the multicolored spots on Xiao Zhan's face had completely disappeared. The multicolored spots on his body had also disappeared. Xiao Zhan's breathing calmed down, and one could even hear his heartbeat. Huff! Lu Ming let out a long breath and stopped devouring. Xiao Zhan's poison was unexpectedly difficult to cure. It had seeped into every inch of his body. Even with the devouring power of the 9 dragons' bloodline, it still took half an hour. Fortunately, Xiao Zhan's poison was completely devoured by the 9 dragons' bloodline and refined into nothingness. Big brother Lu, my grandfather's poison, Ah Hui asked with some concern. Your grandfather's poison has been completely removed, and he will wake up soon. However, Senior Xiao has been poisoned for so many days, and his body is very weak. I'm afraid it will be difficult for him to recover to his peak in a short time. He will need some time to recuperate. Lu Ming smiled. The poison is gone. That's great, that's great. The poison is gone. Thank you, Big Brother Lu. Ah Hui was beaming with joy, and she was extremely excited. Ah Lei was the same, and her eyes were full of joy. However, Xiao Hongyun and his son were the complete opposite. There was no trace of a smile, and their eyes were gloomy. Lu Ming got up and got off the bed. Suddenly, Xiao Zhan's body trembled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he slowly opened his eyes. Grandfather is awake. Grandfather is awake. Grandfather. Chapter 997. Xiao Zhan glanced at the two sisters and smiled. Ah Hui, Ah Lei, is my poison cured? Who helped me? He knew very well that the seven-colored viper's poison was difficult to cure. He thought that he would never wake up, so he was rather surprised. It's Brother Lu. Brother Lu helped you. Ah Hui looked at Lu Ming and said. Xiao Zhan also looked at Lu Ming. When he saw how young Lu Ming was, he was slightly stunned. Is he a powerful alchemist at such a young age? Junior Lu Shaoqing greets Senior Xiao. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. Young hero, you don't have to be so polite. You saved my life, so I should salute you. Xiao Zhan struggled and wanted to salute Lu Ming, but he was too weak to even lift his hand. Senior, you don't have to be so polite. I'm friends with Ah Hui and Ah Lei. It's my duty to save them. Senior, you're weak now. You should rest well. Lu Ming said hurriedly. At that moment, Xiao Hongyun's expression changed. Then, he suddenly smiled in surprise and stepped forward. Father, you're awake. That's great. I've been worried about you day and night. I couldn't sleep at night. Xiao Zhan glanced at Xiao Hongyun and nodded. Xiao Hongyun's eyes flashed with gloominess, but he still had a smile on his face. Father, you've just cured the poison in your body and you're weak. Rest well. We won't disturb you any longer. I'll order someone to send you some pills to nourish your energy. Then, he looked at Ah Hui and Ah Lei and said, Ah Hui, Ah Lei, let's go out. Don't disturb Grandpa's rest. Grandpa, rest well. We'll take our leave first. Ah Hui said reluctantly. Go ahead, young hero Lu. I'll thank you in person after I've recovered a little. Xiao Zhan said. Senior, you're too polite. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Then, everyone left the room. Lu Shaoqing, right? I have something to tell you. As soon as they left the room, Xiao Hongyun's face turned cold. Oh? Lu Ming nodded. Everyone left the main residence and went to a courtyard outside. Lu Shaoqing, since my father's poison has been cured and your injuries have healed, there's no need for you to continue staying in the Xiao family. Please leave. Xiao Hongyun's first sentence was a direct order for them to leave. Ah Hui and Ah Lei's eyes widened in disbelief. Second uncle, what do you mean by this? Big brother Lu just helped Grandpa detoxify the poison and you want to chase him away. He is now our Xiao clan's benefactor. Is this how you treat the Xiao clan's benefactor? Ah Hui said in disbelief. What do you know at such a young age? Do you really think that he is sincere in helping father cure the poison? He must have a motive for doing so. Xiao Hongyun scolded, then looked at Lu Ming and said, Lu Shaoqing, your motive is these two girls, right? They are indeed outstanding beauties. You deliberately approached them and detoxified my father. Your motive is nothing more than to gain their favor and kill two birds with one stone. These two girls are inexperienced. You may be able to hide it from them, but how can you hide it from me? Let me tell you, these two girls are already Ling Yinkong's people. You'd better give up. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. So, leave the Shao family now. Xiao Hongyun looked coldly at Lu Ming, and his tone gradually became heavier. Lu Ming laughed. This was too ridiculous. He came to the Shao family because Ah Hui and Ah Hui invited him. He was looking for a place to heal and detoxify Xiao Zhan. He had originally planned to leave after detoxifying Xiao Zhan. But in Xiao Hongyun's eyes, he had become a person with ulterior motives. His motive was to get the Xiao sisters. How ridiculous was that? He was now the Xiao family's benefactor. Not only did Xiao Hongyun not thank him, but he even asked him to leave immediately. Okay, I'll leave right away. Lu Ming sneered. Since they didn't welcome him, why should he stay here? Brother Lu, don't listen to second uncle's nonsense. You saved Grandpa. Grandpa said that he wants to thank you. Ah Hui said anxiously. Ah Lei's eyes were also filled with anxiety. What nonsense. You two ignorant girls. You are now Ling Yinkong's people, but you are so close to this kid. What will Ling Yinkong think if he knows? Do you want to put the Shao family in danger? Do you want the Shao family to be destroyed? Xiao Hongyun scolded loudly. You're talking nonsense. When did we become Ling Yinkong's people? It's all your wishful thinking. Ah Hui retorted loudly. Xiao Hongyun's face became even gloomier. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Why aren't you leaving? Do you want to stay here? Kid, you cured my grandpa's poison. This mid-grade profound crystal is your reward. Take it and get out of here. Xiao Ning waved his hand and a mid-grade profound crystal flew towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. He smashed the crystal into pieces and coldly glanced at Xiao Ning and Xiao Hongyun. Finally, he looked at Ah Hui and Ah Lei and said, Ah Hui, Ah Lei, thank you for your hospitality these past few days. Goodbye. After saying that, he turned into a beam of light and soared into the sky, leaving the Shao clan. Brother Lu. Ah Hui cried out, and then she glared hatefully at Xiao Hongyun and his son. Is this how the Shao clan treats our benefactor? We'll probably become a laughingstock if news of this spreads. Besides, even if we die, we won't go to the floating mountain to see Ling Yinkong. Just give up. Ah Lei, let's go. Ah Hui pulled Ah Lei and ran out of the Shao family. Lu Ming flew all the way, covering hundreds of miles in the blink of an eye. He arrived at a street in the north of Lishui City. Thereafter, he chose a restaurant and ordered some side dishes to eat and drink. With his current state of mind, he naturally wouldn't be in a bad mood because of Xiao Hongyun and the others. The Shao family had nothing to do with him. It was just a relay station that he passed by. The only thing he was worried about was Ah Hui and Ah Lei. The two girls were very innocent. He was afraid that they would become tools for Xiao Hongyun and his son. What's wrong? Kid, you can't let go of those two girls. Out of nowhere, Dandan appeared on the table. She held a drumstick and started munching. After a few days, Dandan's injuries had basically healed. Yes, I am indeed worried. I plan to cultivate near Lishui City. If you have time, help me keep an eye on it. Lu Ming nodded. Sure, but you can't leave me out of the spiritual herbs. Dandan's mouth was full of oil. After a while, the chicken leg was finished by Dandan. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Lu Ming found a nearby inn to stay in. In a room of the Shao family, Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning were discussing something. Damn it, I didn't expect that kid Lu Shaoqing to be able to cure the old man's poison. Xiao Hongyun said with a gloomy face. Father, what should we do now? When the old man wakes up, he will definitely object to us giving those two girls to Ling Yinkong. Chapter 998. Now, we can only strike first to gain the upper hand. You go to Ling Yunkong now and ask him to send someone to take Ah Hui and Ah Lei directly to the floating mountain. When the rice is cooked, let's see how the old guy will object. Xiao Hongyan's eyes flashed with a scheming light. Okay, father, I'll do it now. Xiao Ning nodded and left the room in a hurry. Lishui City was surrounded by lakes. Endless rivers, lakes, and lakes converged with the land. This territory was filled with water vapor. The next day, Lu Ming left Lishui City and headed north. After tens of thousands of miles, countless lakes came into view. This area was called the 10,000 Lakes Plain. It was said that there were more than 10,000 lakes here. There were countless lakes of different sizes. The big ones were 10,000 miles wide, while the small ones were only a few miles wide. They were spread throughout this vast area. Lu Ming came here to comprehend the concept of water. At a glance, he could see many figures walking on the lakes. Whoosh! Whoosh! Sword chi and water screens flashed from time to time. Human martial artists were killing the water demons in the lakes. There were countless lakes in the 10,000 Lakes Plain. Naturally, there were many water demons. Hiss! A huge catfish, more than 30 meters long, drilled out of the lake. It opened its mouth and bit at Lu Ming, wanting to swallow Lu Ming in one gulp. True essence erupted. Lu Ming stepped out and stomped the catfish to death. Then, his devouring power erupted and devoured the essence blood of the catfish. As for the other demonic powers and blood, Lu Ming didn't devour them. That scene was too shocking. He was afraid that it would spread. Moreover, Lu Ming's cultivation couldn't increase because of his concept. Devouring those energies wouldn't be of much use. Of course, there was another way to improve Lu Ming's concept of water quickly. That was to kill other martial artists and devour their concepts. There were many people in the vicinity of Lishui City who had comprehended the concept of water. He could find any one of them. However, Lu Ming would not do that. If it was an enemy, Lu Ming naturally wouldn't show any mercy. But to make him kill others just to improve his own cultivation, Lu Ming absolutely couldn't do such a thing. Stepping on the surface of the lake, Lu Ming felt the water vapor in the surroundings. He immersed himself in it, continuously comprehending the state of water. Next, Lu Ming comprehended the concept of water in this boundless body of water. 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. How terrifying was Lu Ming's comprehension ability now? Every day, he made great progress. 7 days later, Lu Ming sat cross-legged on a huge lake. The water in this lake was very strange. It moved without wind, as if it had a mind of its own. The water vapor in this lake was the densest, and the comprehension of the concept of water was exceptionally clear. Therefore, many people were attracted to this place to cultivate. Lu Ming also sat cross-legged on the lake, quietly comprehending and comprehending. Peak of 3rd grade entry. Lu Ming's mouth revealed a trace of a smile. His concept of water had already reached the peak of 3rd grade entry. Look, that's the disciples of the Floating Mountain sect. At this moment, someone suddenly exclaimed, attracting the attention of many people. They looked up at the sky. Lu Ming also looked up and saw a few figures walking on air, heading towards Lishui City. There were a total of 8 people. They weren't old, most of them in their 30s. Xiao Ning. Lu Ming frowned as he saw Xiao Ning's figure in the crowd. These are the disciples of the Floating Mountain sect, and they are together with Xiao Ning. Could they be Ling Yunkong's men? Lu Ming frowned as he thought of Ah Hui and Ah Lei. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming got up and walked on the lake, following behind from a distance. Soon, they arrived at Lishui City. Xiao Ning and the others walked on air and entered. When Lu Ming arrived at the Xiao family, he saw that the entrance of the Xiao family was already crowded with people. Why are the people of the Floating Mountain sect here? The leader is called Ling Kai. I've seen him before. He is Ling Yunkong's subordinate. What? Ling Yunkong. One of the top 10 prodigies of the Floating Mountain sect, Ling Yunkong. Exclamations came from all around. That's right. I heard that Ling Yunkong took a fancy to the Shao sisters and wanted to take them as his concubines. However, the Shao sisters never agreed. This time, he's probably here to take them away. Take them away? So overbearing? Nonsense, who is Ling Yunkong? So what if he's overbearing? Who dares to resist? That's true. I heard that Ling Yunkong is a playboy. The Shao sisters are indeed beautiful. If they were taken away by Ling Yunkong, they would be like lambs in a tiger's den. Lu Ming had just arrived when he heard the discussions around him. Circulating his true essence, the people in front of Lu Ming were silently pushed aside by Lu Ming. Lu Ming walked forward. I'm not going. I won't go even if you beat me to death. Lu Ming had just walked to the front when he heard a tender voice. He knew it was a Huey's voice. Lu Ming looked forward and saw a group of youths standing in front of the Shao residence. Opposite them stood Shao Hongyun, Ah Hui, and Ah Lei. At this moment, the Shao sisters were glaring at the youth from the floating mountain sect, Shao Hongyun, and Shao Ning angrily. You're not going. Bastards, it's your fortune that young Master Ling Yunkong took a fancy to you. Do you know how many girls are jealous of you? You dare not go. As long as you serve young Master Ling well, what can you not get in the future? All kinds of cultivation resources will be available. Shao Hongyun scolded with a sullen face. Many people in the crowd secretly shook their heads. Shao Hongyun might not be right. If they really fell in love with the floating mountain sect's prodigy and became husband and wife, it would naturally be as Shao Hongyun said. However, Ling Yunkong was a playboy who liked the new and hated the old. Being with him might not end well. If you say you're not going, then go by yourself. Ah Lei, let's go and find Grandpa. Ah Hui pulled Ah Lei, wanting to run into the Shao residence. Bastards, you're putting the Shao family in danger by doing this. How can we allow you to run amok? Stop right there. Shao Hongyun took a step forward, blocking the two sisters. A powerful aura rose from his body, and with a wave of his hand, his true yuan formed a true yuan cage, trapping the two sisters. Today, you have to go even if you don't want to. Young Master Kai, I'll leave these two girls to you. Shao Hongyun looked at Ling Kai flatteringly. And, these two girls haven't seen the world. After young Master Yunkong's teachings, they'll be obedient. Ling Kai chuckled and asked for more than 1,000. What are you doing? At this moment, a loud roar came from the Shao residence. Then, a group of people followed an old man out. That old man was Shao Zhan. After 7 days, Shao Zhan had not fully recovered, but his aura was many times stronger than 7 days ago. It was obvious that he had recovered part of his cultivation. At this moment, Shao Zhan was like a mad lion, glaring at Shao Hongyun. Grandpa! Ah Hui and Ah Lei shouted. Ah Hui, Ah Lei, don't be afraid. Grandpa is here. Chapter 999. Shao Hongyun frowned and said, Father, look at what you're saying. I'm just thinking for Shao family. For Shao family? I think you're doing this for yourself and your son. Shao Zhan roared. Father, Ning is also your grandson. Shao Hongyun frowned. Grandson? I don't have a grandson who grovels all day and uses his family to exchange for his future. If he doesn't have the backbone of a martial artist, how can he have any achievements? Shao Zhan shouted. These words made Shao Ning's face turn ugly as his eyes flickered with an ominous glint. Old man, I advise you to be sensible. This time, young Master Yunkong has already said that we must bring these two girls back. If you try to stop us, you're not giving young Master Yunkong any face. You're not giving our hanging mountain any face. At this moment, Ling Kai spoke with a cold gaze. Young hero, this old man doesn't have any intention of not giving face to the hanging mountain sect, nor do I dare to do so. But when it comes to love, both parties need to be in love with each other. Since my two granddaughters have no interest in young Master Yunkong, why must you force them? Xiao Zhan said. Feelings need to be nurtured. I'll bring them back and spend some time with young Master Cloud Realm. Won't feelings develop then? Ling Kai sneered. Can young Master Cloud Realm officially marry the two girls and make them his wives? Xiao Zhan asked. Ling Kai frowned and said coldly, Enough, old man. Who do these two girls think they are? It's already a great fortune to be able to scout young Master Cloud Realm. You still want to officially marry him and make them his wives? Are you dreaming? All right, old man, move aside. After saying this, Ling Kai's gaze was like lightning and his aura was oppressive. Second level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Lu Ming could tell that Ling Kai's cultivation had already reached the second level of Spirit Embryo Realm. To be able to reach such a cultivation at Ling Kai's age, he was obviously a genius. No, as disciples of Floating Sky Mountain, are you going to snatch them by force? Xiao Zhan walked to Ah Hui and Ah Lei's side and blocked their path. Grandfather. Fear appeared in Ah Hui and Ah Lei's eyes as they grabbed onto Xiao Zhan's arm tightly. Ah Hui, Ah Lei, don't be afraid. Grandfather is here. Xiao Zhan comforted as a powerful aura rose from his body. Even though Xiao Zhan hadn't fully recovered, the strength of his aura wasn't any weaker than someone at the third level of Spirit Embryo Realm as he fought against Ling Kai. The other Shao clan disciples who came out with Xiao Zhan also stood beside Xiao Zhan and stared at the floating mountain disciples. Old man, it seems like you're refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Your ant-like Shao family dares to go against young Master Yunkong. You're courting death. A cold light flashed in Ling Kai's eyes. He took a step forward, and his aura became even stronger. Although his cultivation was weaker than Xiao Zhan's, his aura was extremely strong, and he was actually able to suppress Xiao Zhan. This was the strength of a genius. Xiao Zhan stared at Ling Kai with a dignified expression. His entire body was tense, as if he would be attacked by Ling Kai at any moment. I'll count to 3. If you don't hand him over, I'll kill one of your Shao clan members in one breath. 3. Ling Kai said coldly. Xiao Zhan, the Shao sisters, and the other members of the Shao clan all had ugly expressions on their faces. Ling Kai was too overbearing. 2. Ling Kai said. The surrounding people were silent. This was Ling Yunkong's matter. Ling Yunkong was one of the 10 great geniuses of Floating Mountain, so who would dare to interfere? Xiao Zhan and the rest had ugly expressions. Xiao Zhan clenched his fists tightly, but he didn't make a sound. 1. Ling Kai spat out the word 1, and his killing intent intensified. Seems like you're not going to hand them over. You're courting death. Kill. Ling Kai waved his hand, and a youth beside him took a step forward. His figure shot out like lightning, and a sword light pierced through the air, stabbing towards a Shao clan disciple. It was so fast that the Shao clan disciple didn't even have time to react. In the next moment, everyone saw a head flying high into the air, and fresh blood spurted out. A Shao clan disciple was killed without any resistance. The youth from Floating Mountain was at the first level of Spirit Embryo Realm. No! Xiao Zhan roared like a mad lion, his eyes blazing with fury. However, he was suppressed by Ling Kai's powerful aura, and couldn't help at all. If he helped, Ah Hui and her sister would be taken away by Ling Kai. Seems like you're not going to hand them over. Kill! Ling Kai's voice continued to ring out. Sword light flashed, and a blood-curdling scream rang out. Another Shao clan disciple was killed. Xiao Zhan's eyes were about to spit fire. Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning stood at the side, their eyes cold and indifferent. No, don't kill, we'll go with you. Ah Hui and her sister cried out with tears in their eyes. No, Grandpa can't send you into the tiger's den, or else, how can I face your parents? Xiao Zhan roared, his eyes red. Old man, I think you're really looking for death. Kill, continue to kill, until you kill everyone from Shao clan. I don't believe that he won't hand them over. Today, I'll kill until he hands them over. Ling Kai shouted, his voice filled with killing intent. Xiao! Sword light flashed out again, but this time, there was no blood-curdling scream, because the hand that was holding the sword was grabbed by someone. A youth in black robes suddenly appeared in front of the youth from Floating Mountain and grabbed his wrist. Enough! The youth in black robes said coldly. Brother Lu. Ah, Hui called out softly. This youth in black robes was Lu Ming. Little brother Lu, leave quickly, this has nothing to do with you. When Xiao Zhan saw that it was Lu Ming, he didn't show any joy, instead, he urged Lu Ming to leave quickly. Lu Ming looked like he was in his 20s, while the opponent was a colossus like Floating Mountain. Ling Yunkong was one of the top 10 heavens prides of Floating Mountain. Lu Ming couldn't resist at all. Lu Ming was his benefactor, so he didn't want to drag Lu Ming into this. Sure enough, Ling Kai's eyes darkened. The youth whose wrist was grabbed by Lu Ming was filled with killing intent as he berated, "Brat, how dare you sneak attack me, you're courting death." Tru Yuan burst out, and a black light flashed. The youth planned to shake off Lu Ming and kill Lu Ming with a sword. Kacha kacha! Lu Ming's wrist shook, and the youth's arm twisted like dough, giving off cracking sounds of bones breaking. He gave a miserable shriek and flew far away, landing heavily on the ground, howling in grief like a dying wild dog. The surroundings suddenly became quiet, and many people were shocked. The youth from Floating Mountain wasn't weak, with a cultivation at the first level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Even though he couldn't be considered a Heaven's Pride, he was still considered outstanding among those at the first level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Yet, he couldn't even block one move from Lu Ming. Who was Lu Ming? How could he be so strong? Ah Hui and Ah Lei opened their mouths slightly stunned. They originally thought that Lu Ming's strength was about the same as theirs, at most a little stronger. Never did they expect that an expert at the first level of Spirit Embryo Realm would be easily defeated by Lu Ming. A hint of astonishment flashed through Xiao Zhan's eyes, but his gaze was still grave. A martial artist at the first level of Spirit Embryo Realm wasn't much, but Ling Kai was at the peak of the second level of Spirit Embryo Realm and was a Heaven's Pride. He wasn't someone that the youth just now could compare to. Brat, to dare to sneak attack and injure a disciple of my Floating Mountain, I think you must have eaten a true dragon's gallbladder. I'll give you a chance now, kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistake, then cripple your own cultivation, and I'll spare your life. Chapter 1000. Lu Ming smiled faintly and said, Floating Sky Mountain is an overlord power. To think that their disciples would be so unbearable to actually snatch a girl, how disappointing. Lu Ming shook his head and sighed. Ling Kai's face turned sinister as he shouted, Brat, you dare to look down on my Floating Sky Mountain. Now you have no chance to live, you will definitely die. What do you mean look down on you? This is the truth. If Floating Sky Mountain is like you or trash like Ling Yunkong, I think it won't be long before it perishes. Lu Ming smiled faintly and said loudly. The hearts of the surrounding people twitched as they took in a cold breath. This Lu Ming was too daring. He actually dared to talk about Ling Yunkong and Floating Sky Mountain like this. Even though they thought the same in their hearts, they didn't dare to say a word. Boasting shamelessly. Who do you think you are to talk about young Master Yunkong and Floating Sky Mountain? Kill him for me. Ling Kai said coldly and waved his hand. Behind him, 5 youths rushed out at the same time and 5 long swords covered Lu Ming. These 5 youths were the same as the previous one. They looked to be in their early 30s and couldn't be considered as geniuses. However, their battle power wasn't weak either. They were all experts at the first level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. Central Continent was indeed the center of Divine Wasteland Continent. It was a holy land for cultivation and there were so many experts. There weren't many people in Eastern Wasteland who had reached Spirit Embryo Realm in their 30s, but here, they were continuously meeting. Scram! Lu Ming spat out a word and a long spear appeared in his hand. With a tremble, 5 spear lights appeared and pierced towards the 5 youths. Puff! 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 Fresh blood splattered everywhere as the 5 youths screamed and retreated in a hurry. A bloody hole appeared on each of their shoulders and fresh blood flowed out. The faces of the 5 youths were pale and their eyes were filled with fear. If Lu Ming's spear lights had pierced their throats, they would have been dead. Now, scram! Lu Ming shouted coldly and stared at Ling Kai with a gaze like lightning. Brat, you are courting death. Not only did Ling Kai not retreat, his killing intent became even more intense. Wang! Above Ling Kai's head, a big fish appeared. This fish was incomparably ferocious, like a battle sword. Its body was slender, and its eyes revealed a fierce light. Ancient swordfish was Ling Kai's bloodline. There were 3 golden chakras shining on it. Ling Kai was an expert who had awakened a level 3 divine bloodline. He was a genius among geniuses. Even though Lu Ming's battle strength was not weak, he was still fearless. With his battle prowess, it was enough to deal with strong practitioners at the 4th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Clang! There was an explosion of sword gleams. Dazzling sword gleams were released from Ling Kai's hands. Countless sword auras were released toward Lu Ming. With a flick of his spear, space buzzed as boundless spear light appeared. Clang! 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 The rapid sound of metal colliding rang out. It was extremely dense, and it rang out several hundred times. Then, Ling Kai's figure retreated rapidly. Several holes had appeared on his body, and blood was flowing out. His face was pale and gloomy. It was obvious that Lu Ming had shown mercy. However, not only was Ling Kai not grateful, he was even more resentful. In his heart, Lu Ming did not dare to kill him because he was from the Floating Mountain sect. It was natural that Lu Ming would not kill him. However, Lu Ming had injured him and embarrassed him. He would not be able to answer to Ling Yunkong when he returned. This was a huge sin. Brat, just you wait. Just you wait. Ling Kai roared angrily and led the others away, turning into a few sword lights and disappearing into the sky. Lu Ming did not give chase. If he was alone, he would have just killed these trash. Lu Ming would not have frowned at all. However, he had to take the Shao clan into consideration, so he showed mercy. Ah Hui, Ah Lei, and Xiao Zhan were stunned. They did not expect Lu Ming's battle prowess to be so high that even Ling Kai was not Lu Ming's opponent and was easily defeated by Lu Ming. Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning were also dumbfounded. At the same time, their expressions were extremely ugly. Brat, how dare you injure a heaven's pride of the Floating Mountain sect? It doesn't matter if you want to die, but don't drag our Shao clan into it. At this moment, Xiao Ning strode out with a gloomy face, pointing at Lu Ming and cursing. Lu Ming frowned and a trace of killing intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. Shut up. Little brother Lu was trying to save us. Xiao Zhan reprimanded. Grandfather, you're old and muddle-headed. What save us? You're clearly harming us. Letting Ling Kai take Ah Hui and Ah Lei away was the best choice. That way, our Shao clan would have a meteoric rise. Now, it's all ruined by this brat. Our Shao clan will be in trouble. Xiao Ning shouted with a sinister expression. Bastard! Xiao Zhan glared at Xiao Ning, trembling with anger. Ning is right. Brat, I knew you had bad intentions. Now that you've offended young Master Ling Yunkong, we're all in trouble. Xiao Hongyun took a step forward and said coldly. Ha ha ha, framing your Shao clan and bringing trouble to your Shao clan. Ridiculous, really ridiculous. Who was the one who killed the Shao clan's disciples? Me? Lu Ming laughed. Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning were really shameless. Just now, when the Floating Mountain sect's disciples killed the Shao clan's disciples, Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning didn't say a word. Now that Lu Ming helped the Shao clan beat back Ling Kai and the others, the two jumped out to criticize him. How could there be such a ridiculous thing in the world? So what if a few Shao clan's trash died? Who told them to be disobedient? Xiao Ning sneered. Slap! Lu Ming slapped Xiao Ning's face with a backhand. Xiao Ning spun a few rounds in the air and fell heavily on the ground. One side of his face was swollen like a pig's head. He looked at Lu Ming with a dumbfounded expression. Lu Ming actually dared to hit him. In my eyes, you're also trash. Why don't you go and die? Lu Ming looked down at Xiao Ning and said coldly. How dare you? I'll take you down right now and cripple your cultivation. I'll personally send you to apologize to young Master Ling Yunkong. Xiao Hongyun shouted as the aura on his body exploded. He took a step forward and rushed towards Lu Ming, sending a palm towards Lu Ming. 5th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Xiao Hongyun's cultivation had reached the 5th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. With his cultivation, he could have stopped Ling Kai, but he didn't move at all. Now, he wanted to take down Lu Ming. Stop! Xiao Zhan shouted in anger. He didn't expect Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning to be so shameless. He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. However, his cultivation hadn't fully recovered, so it was too late for him to stop Xiao Hongyun. Facing Xiao Hongyun's palm, Lu Ming didn't move at all, as if he had no intention of retaliating. Xiao Hongyun's heart jumped as he had a bad premonition. This brat is so young, and I've never heard of his name. I don't believe that he's my opponent. Thinking of this, Xiao Hongyun's palm's strength increased as it flew towards Lu Ming. Just as the palm's strength was about to hit Lu Ming's feet moved slightly, and Xiao Hongyun's palm was dodged by Lu Ming. At the same time, Lu Ming stretched out his hand and grabbed Xiao Hongyun's face, pressing it against the ground. Boom! The ground shook as Xiao Hongyun's face came into close contact with the ground, creating a huge crater. Smoke and dust filled the air. Chapter 1001. When the dust settled, Xiao Hongyun was lying on the ground like a dead dog. His face was completely deformed and blood was seeping out from his mouth. His body was twitching and it was a tragic sight. The surrounding onlookers were tongue-tied and couldn't say anything for a long time. Xiao Hongyun, who was at the 5th level of Spirit Embryo Realm, couldn't resist Lu Ming at all. Lu Ming's strength became unfathomable in the hearts of the onlookers. What's the use of keeping a person like you in this world? I'll send you on your way. A cold killing intent burst out from Lu Ming's eyes. Xiao Hongyun felt Lu Ming's killing intent and shuddered. He became much more clear-headed and broke out in cold sweat. He crawled toward Xiao Zhan with all his might and shouted, "Father, Father, save me, I won't dare to do it again. I was wrong this time, save me." Xiao Zhan's gaze was complicated and he let out a sigh. He cupped his fists towards Lu Ming and said, "Little brother Lu, can you spare him this time?" Xiao Hongyun was his son after all and also his last son. Seeing him being killed by Lu Ming, Xiao Zhan couldn't bear it. Lu Ming shook his head in his heart. He already knew this would happen. Xiao Zhan valued friendship too much. Although he was disappointed in Xiao Hongyun, he didn't want to see him die. Since Senior Xiao has spoken, I'll spare him this time. Lu Ming said. In his eyes, it didn't matter if Xiao Hongyun was killed because he didn't care at all. Why would he care about someone who could be killed with a slap? Big brother Lu, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. Ah Hui ran over and looked at Lu Ming with admiration. Ah Lei also stood behind Ah Hui and blinked her eyes, peeking at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's strength was far beyond their expectations. It seemed like even their grandfather wasn't a match for Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled and looked at Xiao Zhan. "Senior Xiao, what do you plan to do next?" It was obvious that Ling Yunkong wouldn't let this matter rest. "Little brother Lu, let's talk inside," Xiao Zhan said. Lu Ming nodded and walked into the Xiao clan's mansion with Xiao Zhan, Ah Hui, and Ah Lei. Ling Yunkong shouldn't be here so soon. I plan to dismiss the Xiao family and take Ah Hui and Ah Lei to the ends of the world. But this time, I'm really sorry to have involved you. As he spoke, Xiao Zhan bowed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming waved his hand, and a strand of Jin Yuan spread out, dragging Xiao Zhan along. Senior, there's no need to be so polite. Hui, and Lei can be considered friends. I can't just watch them be taken away by the people of the floating mountain. Moreover, I'm alone, so I'm not afraid of them. Xiao Zhan could feel Lu Ming's vast true essence. He found that he couldn't even bow down a little bit. He was secretly shocked in his heart. In his eyes, Lu Ming was even more unfathomable. This old man is truly unable to repay little brother's kindness. Xiao Zhan cupped his fists. Lu Ming had cured his poison before, and this time, he had saved Hui and Hui. He was truly a great benefactor to them. After chatting for a while, Xiao Zhan ordered everyone in the Xiao family to pack their things. They planned to wait until night and take advantage of the darkness to leave in batches. Lishui City and the Xiao family definitely couldn't stay. Half a day passed, and night fell. The disciples of the Xiao family fled into the night in batches and disappeared. Lu Ming, Xiao Zhan, Hui, and Lei sat in the courtyard, slowly drinking tea. Master, let this old servant stay and take care of you. An old man with a head full of white hair stood beside Xiao Zhan and pleaded. The old man was very old, but he was still full of spirit. But now, his eyes were filled with sadness and reluctance. Grandpa Quan. Hui and Lei were also reluctant to part. The old man was called Feng Quan. He had been in the Xiao family for hundreds of years. Now, he was the housekeeper of the Xiao family. He had watched Hui and Lei grow up and had deep feelings for the Xiao family. Quan, it's very dangerous to follow us. You still have a family. Hurry up and leave. If there's a chance, we'll meet again. Xiao Zhan said. He was helpless, but this was the only way now. If they stayed, they would all die when Ling Yunkong brought people here. Only by leaving would they have a chance of survival. Xiao Zhan's attitude was firm. Feng Quan was helpless. Then, he said goodbye to Xiao Zhan and the others in tears. Grandpa, it's all our fault. Hui and Lei were teary-eyed. If it weren't for them, this wouldn't have happened. You two silly girls, don't let your imagination run wild. Xiao Zhan chuckled, then looked at Lu Ming and said, Little brother Lu, it's getting late. You should leave. We'll disguise ourselves and leave the city at dawn. Lu Ming had already helped them a lot. He didn't want to implicate Lu Ming. Before Lu Ming could say anything, footsteps were heard in the courtyard. The next moment, Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning appeared and walked in. What are you still doing here? Hurry up and get lost. Xiao Zhan scolded coldly. Plop. Plop. To everyone's surprise, Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning knelt down in front of Xiao Zhan. Father, I was wrong. I was blinded by greed and thought of using Hui and Lei to curry favor with Ling Yunkong. That's why this happened. I was wrong. Xiao Hongyun kowtowed to Xiao Zhan and cried bitterly. He then kowtowed to Lu Ming and said, Thanks to young Master Lu for waking me up this time. I suddenly realized that what I did previously was a huge mistake. Thank you, young Master Lu. Xiao Ning kowtowed along with Xiao Hongyun. Lu Ming frowned. Xiao Zhan also frowned. Father, I only hope that you can forgive me. Then, I'll bring Ning to Ling Yunkong and beg for mercy. I'll buy some time for you and Hui to leave. Xiao Hongyun said with a sincere look. Grandpa, look, second uncle also knows his mistake. Just forgive him. Hui whispered. Yes, Grandpa. Lei also said. The two sisters were very kind. Seeing that Xiao Hongyun seemed to be sincere, they begged for mercy for Xiao Hongyun. Slap! Slap! Suddenly, Xiao Hongyun slapped himself repeatedly. As he slapped himself, he cried out, Father, I was wrong. I beg for your forgiveness. After a few slaps, both sides of Xiao Hongyun's face swelled up. Well, it's good that you know you're wrong. Everyone makes mistakes. Just remember that you have to grasp your own opportunities and not sacrifice your loved ones. Xiao Zhan was soft-hearted. Seeing this, he sighed. Thank you, Father. Xiao Hongyun smiled and said, Father, I don't know when we'll meet again after this farewell. I've prepared a feast in the hall. It's been a long time since I've had a gathering with Father and my nieces. Let's just say goodbye to Father and my nieces. A banquet? There's no need for that. As long as you have the heart. Xiao Zhan said. Father, this is a small gift from me. Maybe we'll never meet again. Xiao Hongyun sighed and showed a regretful and sad look. Grandpa, let's go. I think second uncle is sincere. Ah, Hui whispered and Ah Lei nodded repeatedly. Well, okay. Chapter 1002. Xiao Hongyun was overjoyed. Thank you, Father. Then, he looked at Lu Ming and said, Young Master Lu, I apologize for offending you in the past. Why don't you join us? That's good. There's no reason to refuse. Lu Ming smiled. Then, the six of them came to the main hall. There was indeed a table full of delicious wine and delicacies. Xiao Hongyun poured everyone a cup of wine, then raised his cup and said, Father, Ah Hui, Ah Lei, and young Master Lu, I made a big mistake in the past. I'll punish myself with a cup. Then, he raised his cup and drained it in one gulp. Xiao Zhan, Ah Hui, and Ah Lei also raised their cups and took a sip. Lu Ming raised his cup with a faint smile on his face. Young Master Lu, please. Seeing that Lu Ming did not drink, a trace of panic flashed in the depths of Xiao Hongyun's eyes. Then, a sincere smile appeared on his face. It's really good wine. You'll know after smelling it. Lu Ming laughed, then raised his cup and drained it in one gulp. Seeing this, Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. Young Master Lu is generous. Come, let's eat. Xiao Hongyun smiled. Everyone sat down, and Xiao Ning poured wine for them. Young Master Lu, you're so young, but you have such a cultivation base. I'm really impressed. I've never heard of your name before. May I know which force you're from? Xiao Hongyun said. Hearing this, Xiao Zhan, Ah Hui, and Ah Lei were also curious. It had been half a year since the Battle of Providence ended. During the Battle of Providence, all the hidden geniuses who were secretly nurtured by the unparalleled experts had revealed themselves. Now, who didn't know the names of these geniuses? However, they were unfamiliar with Lu Shaoqing. Did he not participate in the Battle of Providence? I don't belong to any force. I used to cultivate in the mountains. This is my first time coming out. Lu Ming smiled. Everyone was stunned. Did Lu Ming really not participate in the Battle of Providence? This was truly rare. Generally speaking, when encountering a battle of karmic luck, there was practically no genius who wouldn't be tempted. Young Master Lu, you have such a cultivation base even though you haven't participated in the Battle of Providence. This is truly rare. Come, let me offer you a toast. Xiao Hongyun raised his cup and drained it in one gulp. Lu Ming smiled and drained his cup as well. Good wine, really good wine. You guys are really considerate. Lu Ming clicked his tongue, a look of enjoyment on his face. It seems like young Master Lu is a wine lover. You should drink more if you like. Xiao Hongyun smiled. Xiao Ning immediately poured a cup of wine for Lu Ming. He raised his cup and said, Brother Lu, please forgive my previous offense. Sure. Lu Ming smiled, picked up the wine cup and drained it in one gulp. The joy on Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning's faces deepened. Afterwards, Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning repeatedly apologized to Xiao Zhan, Ah Hui, and Ah Lei, and proposed a toast to them. Soon, the Xiao sisters' faces were flushed red, and they looked exceptionally beautiful. Grandpa, Ah Hui, why do I feel a little cold? At this moment, Ah Lei whispered. I feel a little cold too. Ah Hui shivered and exhaled. A layer of frost actually formed in the air. Xiao Zhan's expression changed drastically. Ah Hui and Ah Lei were both in the complete spiritual sea realm. How could they suddenly feel cold? Even if they were in a world of ice and snow, they would not feel cold. At this moment, Xiao Zhan also felt a trace of coldness in his meridians. Bang! Xiao Zhan suddenly stood up from his chair and stared at Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning like a mad lion. He roared, "Bastards, you poisoned the wine." Before he could finish his words, Xiao Zhan felt the world spinning around him. He could not stand and sat back down in his chair. Ah Hui and Ah Lei looked at Xiao Hongyun in disbelief. They had never imagined that Xiao Hongyun would actually poison them. Didn't Xiao Hongyun admit his mistake just now? Could it be that everything was fake? The two sisters found it unbelievable. It's so cold. Ah Lei cried. At this moment, her face was no longer flushed. Instead, a layer of frost had appeared. At the same time, every time she exhaled, a layer of frost would appear in the air. Ha ha ha. At this time, Xiao Hongyun let out an earth-shattering laugh, laughing hysterically. Old man, you two stinky girls, you still want to leave? If you leave, what will happen to Ning and I? We can't let our bright futures be ruined in your hands. Xiao Hongyun laughed. At this moment, he completely revealed his true nature. His face was full of ferocity. And you, boy, how dare you interfere? I'll kill you. Xiao Hongyun stared at Lu Ming ferociously. Bastard, you bastard! Xiao Zhan roared. He was extremely sad and disappointed. Just now, he really thought that Xiao Hongyun had found his conscience and turned over a new leaf. He did not expect that everything was fake. Xiao Hongyun pretended to be pitiful and remorseful in front of them just to trick them into drinking and eating. He had already poisoned the wine and food. At this moment, a layer of frost appeared on Xiao Zhan's face. A layer of light suffused his body as he tried to force the poison out. However, he had not fully recovered, so it was useless. Old man, there's no need to force the poison out. It's useless. This is snow heart poison. It's 10 times more poisonous than the rainbow viper. You can't force it out. Xiao Hongyun sneered. Snow heart poison. Xiao Zhan's face was covered in misery. Snow heart poison was extremely famous among all the strange poisons in the world. Without an antidote, even a spirit god would find it difficult to force out the poison once poisoned. Old man, I might as well tell you something else. You were bitten by the rainbow viper in the chaotic mountain range. It was young Master Yunkong who lured the rainbow viper over. Otherwise, hee hee. Xiao Hongyun continued to sneer. What? Bastard, then you were the one who revealed my whereabouts? Xiao Zhan staggered and almost lost his footing. Ha ha ha. That's right. Besides me and Ning only a Hui and a Lei knew about your whereabouts. Who else could it be? Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning laughed arrogantly. Bastard. Xiao Zhan's face was covered in misery and despair. How can I take control of the Xiao clan if you don't die? Also, how can those two girls marry Ling Yunkong if you don't die? Do you know that you're an obstacle to me? Xiao Hongyun's face was savage. That's right. Old man, I'm your grandson as well. But why do you have to protect those two stinking girls? They're clearly so valuable. Why do you want to waste them? Xiao Ning screamed from the side. Xiao Zhan had given up all hope. Xiao Hongyun and his son were no different from animals. It's not just the two of you, right? The others should be here soon. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly spoke. Hee hee, kid, you're right. A sneer resounded as a dozen figures flashed into the hall. Ling Kai and the other youths from the Hanging Mountain Range were among them. It was Ling Kai who had spoken just now. Besides him, there were 7 or 8 middle-aged or old men. All of them had powerful auras and profound cultivations. Chapter 1003. Old man, how dare you disobey young Master Yunkong? You're courting death. How dare you try to sneak away? Humph. Young Master Yunkong has taken a fancy to these 2 girls. Do you think you can escape? Ling Kai glanced coldly at Xiao Zhan, Ah Hui, and Ah Lei. Xiao Zhan, Ah Hui, and Ah Lei turned pale. They knew that they were doomed this time. And you, boy, how dare you injure us? You're courting death. Hee, aren't you in our hands now? Ling Kai looked ferociously at Lu Ming, licked his lips, and continued, but don't worry, I won't kill you easily. I'll let you suffer all the torture in the world and let you die in pain. Sigh. At this time, Lu Ming suddenly sighed. Humph, it's too late to sigh now. Ling Kai said coldly. I'm just sighing. My good mood was ruined by a few stray dogs. What a bummer. Lu Ming sighed. Then, in front of everyone's shocked eyes, he picked up the flagon on the table and said, but this is good wine. Don't waste it. After saying that, Lu Ming opened his mouth and sucked. The wine in the flagon turned into a column of water and flew into Lu Ming's mouth. Lu Ming gulped down every drop. Everyone was dumbfounded. You're not poisoned. How is that possible? Xiao Hongyun shouted in disbelief. He thought he was dreaming. He had clearly seen Lu Ming drink many cups of wine. How could he not be poisoned? Moreover, Lu Ming had drunk all the remaining wine. What was going on? Was Lu Ming not afraid of poison? Ling Kai and the others were also dumbfounded. They had brought the snow heart poison here. They had given the antidote to Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning in advance. Then, they had poisoned the wine and dishes. Their main target was Lu Ming. In their eyes, Lu Ming was the most dangerous, while Xiao Zhan and the others were no threat at all. The process went unexpectedly smoothly. Xiao Hongyun and his son successfully brought Xiao Zhan and the others here, and Lu Ming and the others also successfully drank and ate. Moreover, Lu Ming drank the most wine and ate the most dishes. But now, how could Lu Ming be fine? Ling Kai knew better than anyone how powerful the snow heart poison was. Xiao Zhan, Ah Hui, and Ah Lei were a little stunned at first, but then their eyes revealed hope. Lu Ming was actually fine. Earlier, they had already given up all hope. But now, hope was born again. I don't mind telling you, the moment I picked up the wine cup, I knew it was poisoned. Lu Ming looked disdainfully at Xiao Hongyun and smiled faintly. No. Why did you still drink it? Xiao Hongyun was still in disbelief. Because this is good wine. How can I let it go to waste? Moreover, I also want to see what kind of tricks you have up your sleeves. Lu Ming smiled faintly and stood up. Light swirled around his body, and a cold aura filled the air. Then, he stretched out his hand and pointed it at Xiao Zhan, Ah Hui, and Ah Lei. A huge devouring power exploded. Then, white threads of light flew out from the 3 of them. When the white threads of light flew through the air, a layer of sparkling white frost appeared in the air. The white threads flew into Lu Ming's palm and were devoured by Lu Ming. Xiao Zhan, Ah Hui, and Ah Lei's faces became rosy. The poison in their bodies had been neutralized. Xiao Hongyun, Xiao Ning, Ling Kai, and the others widened their eyes in shock. Absorbing the poison from a person's body and neutralizing it through the air. They had never heard of such a detoxification method. Now, it's your turn. Since you're here, don't even think about leaving. Lu Ming's gaze swept across, and a cold murderous intent burst out. Not good, retreat. Xiao Hongyun's heart skipped a beat. Without hesitation, he pulled Xiao Ning and retreated rapidly. However, even though they were fast, Lu Ming was faster. Lu Ming moved like a stream of light and appeared in front of Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning. He pointed 2 fingers at them. The 2 of them could not resist and were hit by Lu Ming's fingers on their dantian. Puff! Puff! Like a punctured balloon, Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning screamed. Their bodies flew out and fell to the ground. Their auras were weak, and they were like ordinary people. Their cultivation had been destroyed by Lu Ming. Ah, my cultivation base, my cultivation base. Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning screamed miserably, their voices filled with despair. It's over, it's all over. They had wanted to rely on Ling Yunkong to climb up the ranks. Now, before they could curry favor with Ling Yunkong, their cultivation had been destroyed and they had become cripples. There was no hope left. Go, go, go! Ling Kai's pupils contracted rapidly as he screamed. He was about to retreat. Whoosh! Suddenly, Lu Ming appeared in front of Ling Kai. He grabbed Ling Kai's neck and lifted him into the air. Let go of me. What are you doing? I'm with young Master Yunkong. Ling Kai yelled and tried to threaten Lu Ming. Devour! Lu Ming spat out a word coldly and the devouring power suddenly erupted. Ling Kai screamed and struggled. However, to everyone's horror, Ling Kai's body shriveled like a ball and turned into a dried corpse. Bloodthirsty skill, this is Cold Blood Hall's bloodthirsty skill. You're from Cold Blood Hall. Go, go! The others from Floating Mountain screamed and tried to escape. Did I say you could leave? Stay here. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and clenched his fist. Boom! A terrifying devouring power erupted, enveloping everyone from the Floating Mountain sect within. They screamed in horror as their bloodline power, essence blood, fresh blood, and genuine vitality flew out of their bodies and were devoured by Lu Ming. It was a horrible feeling. They watched themselves being devoured and the people around them turning into dried corpses. No, after a while, all the people from Floating Mountain turned into dried corpses and were devoured by Lu Ming. Almost all of them cultivated the essence of water. Lu Ming's essence of water began to improve as the 9 dragons' bloodline continued to refine them. Only Xiao Hongyun, Xiao Ning, Xiao Zhan, Ah Hui, and Ah Lei were left. Not a single person from the Hanging Mountain was left alive. A foul stench wafted in the hall. Lu Ming turned around. It was Xiao Ning. He looked at Lu Ming in horror. He was so scared that he had wet his pants. Xiao Hongyun's face was also pale and full of despair. Xiao Zhan and the other 2 looked at Lu Ming in shock. Little brother Lu, you're a disciple of Cold Blood Hall? Xiao Zhan asked. Cold Blood Hall? I've never heard of it. I'm not a disciple of Cold Blood Hall. Lu Ming shook his head. You're not a disciple of Cold Blood Hall. Xiao Zhan heaved a sigh of relief. He seemed to be very afraid of Cold Blood Hall. Senior Xiao, I'll leave these 2 to you. Lu Ming pointed at Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning. Xiao Zhan's eyes flashed with killing intent. Father, spare my life. Please spare me this time. I was blinded by lard for a moment. I won't dare to do it again. Xiao Hongyun begged. That's what you said before. You 2 bastards, leaving you alive will only harm others. I might as well kill you myself. Chapter 1004. Dad, please let us go this time. I'm your son. Xiao Hongyun begged. Grandpa, I beg you, please let me go. This has nothing to do with me. It's all my dad's fault. Yes, it's all his fault. He forced me to do this. Xiao Ning screamed and begged, pushing all the blame onto Xiao Hongyun. Bastard, how dare you slander me? If not for you sucking up to Ling Yunkong, why would I do this? Xiao Hongyun looked at Xiao Ning in disbelief and anger. Grandpa, if you want to kill him, just kill him. I'm innocent. I'm the last man in the Xiao family. I still have to pass on the heirs of the Xiao family. You're the one who gave me this idea. Grandpa, if you want to kill him, just kill him. I'm innocent. I'm the last man in the Xiao family. Xiao Ning shouted. Bastard, bastard, I'll kill you. Xiao Hongyun roared and rushed toward Xiao Ning. Don't think I'm afraid of you. Xiao Ning also rushed toward Xiao Hongyun. Their cultivations were crippled, and they fought with their physical strength. Misfortune of the family, misfortune of the family. Xiao Zhan's face was dejected, as if he had aged a few decades. After a while, Xiao Zhan's eyes revealed a look of determination. A sword appeared in his hand, and he said, "What's the use of keeping two scum alive?" Whoosh! With a flash of sword light, two heads flew high into the air, their faces filled with disbelief. After killing Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning, Xiao Zhan staggered as if he had lost all his strength. Grandpa! Hui and Lei quickly supported Xiao Zhan. Senior Xiao, you can't fall. The Xiao family and Hui and Lei still need you to take care of them. Lu Ming said. Xiao Zhan took a deep breath to calm himself down, and said, "Yes, Hui and Lei are the hope of the Xiao family. We can't let anything happen to them. Let's leave Lishui City and Floating Mountain now. I'll send you off first." Lu Ming said. Then, the four of them left the Xiao family under the cover of the night. But just as they stepped out of the Xiao family's house, a bright sword light violently slashed towards them. Lu Ming's face changed. Rumble. The sword light slashed towards the Xiao clan, leaving behind a deep sword scar. Half of the Xiao clan was split into two. A group of figures appeared in the air. Each and every one of them had a cold look in their eyes, and a powerful aura emanated from their bodies. People from the Floating Mountains sect. Xiao Zhan's expression changed drastically. It seems that Ling Kai and the others are dead. Fortunately, I was worried and rushed over personally. Otherwise, you would have really escaped. A cold voice came from afar. A young man in a white robe walked over while waving a folding fan. Soaring cloud. Xiao Zhan, Hui, and Lei cried out in alarm. Their faces turned even uglier and even more desperate. One of the top 10 geniuses of the Hanging Mountain, Ling Yunkong, had actually come in person. Whoosh! 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 Around the Xiao clan, many figures appeared in a flash. They flew into the sky and looked over. The commotion caused by the previous sword strike was so great that everyone within 100 li could hear it. They all rushed over to see what was going on. People from the Floating Mountains sect. Ling Yunkong, it's Ling Yunkong. Ling Yunkong has come personally. The Xiao clan is finished. Someone recognized Ling Yunkong and let out a cry of alarm. Brother Lu, leave quickly. Leave quickly. Xiao Zhan anxiously called out to Lu Ming. Lu Ming's battle strength was not bad, but he was definitely not a match for Ling Yunkong. Ling Yunkong was one of the top 10 geniuses of the Floating Mountains sect. His battle strength was terrifying, and countless seniors were not his match. One of the top 10 geniuses of the Floating Mountains sect. Lu Ming's mouth curved into a smile. Instead, his eyes revealed a trace of battle intent and anticipation. The Floating Mountains sect was one of the top forces in the Central Continent. It was a force on the same level as the Emperor Heaven Deity Palace and the Heavenly Corpse sect. Lu Ming was very curious about the level of the geniuses in such a force. Leave. Today, none of you will leave. Ling Yunkong's voice was cold. His gaze swept over and landed on Hui and Lei. Flames of passion flashed in his eyes. He had played with countless beautiful women in his life, but he had never played with such a pair of pure and lovely twins. Just thinking about it made him excited. Old man, kill yourself. And that kid, kill yourself too. That way, I can leave your corpses intact. Ling Yunkong said indifferently. This is the character of one of the top 10 geniuses of the Floating Mountains sect. Today, I finally see it. How disappointing. Lu Ming shook his head and sighed. In the air, the faces of the experts of the floating mountain sect changed. Ling Yunkong's face also darkened. He stared coldly at Lu Ming and said, "Good, kid. Very good. Just because of what you said, I won't let you die. I will let you live, but I will make you regret living." Ling Kai said the same thing before, but he is now a dead dog. "I hope you have the right to say it." Lu Ming replied indifferently. "Go, cripple him." Ling Yunkong's eyes flashed with killing intent as he waved his hand. Bang! An elder took a step forward and a steel fork appeared in his hand. His aura rose and a powerful pressure pressed towards Lu Ming. It was incomparably shocking. 6th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. This elder's cultivation had reached the 6th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Boom! The elder waved the steel fork and smashed it towards Lu Ming. "Be careful. Brother Lu, be careful." Xiao Zhan and the Xiao sisters cried out in unison, extremely worried. Lu Ming's palm glowed and a spear condensed from his vital essence. The spear swept out and struck the steel fork. With a clang, the steel fork trembled violently and was sent flying. Lu Ming rose into the air and the spear transformed into a ray of light with a faint dragon roar coming out. Upper grade half-god level martial technique, dazzling dragon spear arts. Puchi. The spear broke through all of the elder's defenses and killed him in one strike. What? The people who were watching the battle not far away were all shocked. Lu Ming's abilities were so strong, killing a person of the 6th level of Spirit Embryo Realm with one strike. Such a young prodigy couldn't be a nameless person in the entire central continent. Ling Yunkong's eyes flickered slightly. It was obvious that Lu Ming's cultivation had exceeded his expectations. "Looks like I have to do it myself today," Ling Yunkong said. He was only slightly surprised, but Lu Ming wasn't enough for him to take seriously. This was because he could kill an ordinary person of the 6th level of Spirit Embryo Realm with a flick of his finger. Bang! Ling Yunkong took a step forward and the sky trembled violently. Heaven and earth shook. Ling Yunkong is going to do it. Some people exclaimed, but more people's eyes glowed. It had been half a year since the Battle of Providence. During this time, the entire central continent was very peaceful, as if all the prodigies were in seclusion. It was completely different from before the Battle of Providence began. Before the Battle of Providence began, the prodigies battled each other and there were battles every day. However, after the Battle of Providence, it was completely silent. All the prodigies seemed to be digesting the things they had obtained from the Battle of Providence and were in seclusion to raise their cultivation. In this half a year, it was rare to see some of the top prodigies fight. Was Ling Yunkong going to do it now?